This is Coach Chick Austin, welcoming you to Austin Field, home of the Lakeside Rams since 1949. There's no better place to be on Friday night than a high school football game. It's Friday night. Let's go Rams.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Lakeside Coaches Show. We're going to kick it off again this week with Coach McBride. Coach McBride, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, how are you, sir?
Good, man.
Alright, so it was a tough loss this week at home versus Watson Chapel. You know, after falling short in a game like that could potentially decide the conference, how do you bounce back heading into the rest of the season? What's the mindset moving forward?
It was a big game for our kids. I know they were upset along with everybody else at the outcome, but you gotta bounce back and keep rolling along. We played a really good Watson Chapel team. We knew it was going to be a tough battle, and we just couldn't quite get over the hump. But I'm proud of our guys, and kind of solidifies us as a number 2 seed going into the playoffs. We know we get a home playoff game, but we got to bounce back this week against our rival over at Hot Springs.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to that Watson Chapel game. Devin Curry, of course, the sophomore quarterback for Watson Chapel. The week before, he only threw one pass, but this time around, he had 111 yards. Did that take you by surprise?
We knew he could throw the ball if he needed to. We did a really good job of stopping the run in key situations, so they felt like they had to throw the football. But he's a good all-around quarterback. He's a sophomore. He's a very strong kid. Looks like he's got good poise back there, and he'll be a force to reckon with for a few years.
How hard is it to contain a dual-threat quarterback like him?
It makes it more difficult just because you know that he can beat you with his legs at any time. But I thought our guys did a good job of rallying around and getting to the football and kind of keeping the big plays down. They had a couple for the night, but overall our defense played really well.
What would you say was the biggest individual challenge for this game against Watson Chapel?
Probably for us was just establishing the line of scrimmage. We talk about that every week, about being able to dominate the line of scrimmage, especially offensively. We had some good battles up front, but they played a defensive front where they were kind of covering all of our guys and just kind of saying you got to win at all 5 positions, and it was a little bit tough sledding for us offensively. They have a really good safety that was not afraid to fill and tackle, and they were just a little bit more physical than we were defensively. But I think our guys learned a little bit about themselves, and hopefully we can correct some mistakes and come back and be a good, productive offense.
So like you said, moving forward this week, the game at Hot Springs, of course, big rivalry game. Hot Springs likes to play the spoiler a lot of years, especially 2 years ago, 2015, they had that big upset.
That's right.
On the first conference championship year.
That's right. They're going to play us tough any year. It doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter where we play. We know it's going to be a tough football game. These kids grew up together playing Pee Wee football together. They know each other, and they're going to play hard and compete. And it's going to be a tough road for us over in Hot Springs Friday night.
So has anyone from the Trojans on offense or defense been the focal point for preparation in this one?
They've played a lot of kids in a lot of positions. They played 3 different quarterbacks. They played a lot of different running backs. They're really sharing the ball around. So they just kind of try to figure out what works best for them at the time and kind of roll with that. So we just have to be very prepared offensively and defensively, and just kind of play an overall good solid game.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach, for sitting down with us. Good luck this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, you can go to the Hot Springs game. It's on the road this week. And next week, we have the first round of the playoffs. Lakeside will be playing at home, and you can catch that game right here on Lakeside TV. We'll be right back with this week's special guest.
Do you talk to your family without really communicating? Our new Lennox Ultimate Comfort System communicates with each component of the system, which communicates with you at home or away, giving you the ultimate control and perfect air. Wouldn't it be nice if everything in your life worked that well together?
Call Grisham Air Care for perfect air in your home.
Grisham Air Care and Lennox, the ultimate home comfort team. Lennox, innovation never felt so good.
Welcome back to the Lakeside Coaches Show, everyone. At this time, we're joined by our special guest of the week, Coach Bradley. Coach Bradley, thanks for sitting down.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us a little more about you and your career in football?
Yeah, I played high school football at Nashville, just like Coach McBride did, and won a state championship there as a senior. Went on to play college football for SAU, the Mule Riders. Was a 4-year starter there, team captain there, and as soon as I got out, I went and coached at Bearden, Arkansas. Played for a state title there as a coach, and then came here to Lakeside, where I've been for the last 5 years.
So, how does the state title compare as a coach and as a player, since you've won it from both spots?
It's very special winning it as a player. Now I'm a little more selfish. I want one as a coach, but I wouldn't take that away for anything. It was very special for me.
So let's talk about some of the players on this O-line that has really been making an impact this season for the entire team. We'll start with Adrian Messiah.
Adrian, he's one of the better linemen up front for us. He has a lot of potential, one of our bigger kids. He gets after it pretty good when he wants to. He's got to get onto him a lot to stay after it, but he's got a lot of upside. He'll have a chance to play college football if he wants to. He's he's got a lot of ability that a lot of other guys don't have. Very special player for us.
Has a lot of potential.
A lot of potential, yes.
Jonah Nestor.
Nestor, yeah, Adrian's best friend. Jonah's very undersized, but what he lacks in size, he accounts for in just absolutely getting after it all the time. He's a kid that you could tell, go run through that brick wall right now, and he'll go run through that brick wall as best that he can. Very coachable kid, love having him around. He's also got a lot of athletic ability, helps our offensive line out tremendously.
Is there some friendly competition between Adrian and...
They love getting into it with each other in practice. They're like the brothers at home that can never get along, but right after they're loving each other and giggling and laughing. Yes, a lot of competition between those two. Gotta make sure I watch those two. They'll be wanting to choke each other 1 second and be hugging each other the next second.
Is there one really funny situation between those two in specific you can think of?
Yeah, I can remember during two-a-days we were doing some ladders, and one Nestor he's like the little dog that won't shut up. He's just nagging at Macias. He knows that he's just pushing his buttons. He knows how to push his buttons over and over, just nagging on him. And then here in a second, Adrian just waylays him, and I've got to stop offensive line practice and start preaching to those about how we're supposed to treat our teammates. They know how to push each other's buttons. I want to turn sometimes and giggle, but I know I don't need to. But yeah, there's all kinds of situations like that every week that those two getting into it with each other.
Yeah. So moving forward, Logan Timpton.
Yep, Logan. Logan's one of our better offensive linemen. Move him around a lot. He's played all 5 positions this year. He can fill in for anybody. We moved him. He was starting at guard this year. Moved him over to tackle now, and he's good at everything he does. And he'd be tough for us to replace if we had to replace him, just because he can do everything for us.
Miles Gerald's.
Miles Gerald's one of our bigger offensive linemen, about 6'3", 280. He plays center for us right now. Also can play tackle as well. Has big hopes of wanting to play college football. And I tell him if he gets after it, he'll have a chance, because he's a big body kid and he can do some things. He makes all our calls for us up front, gets us in the right protections and stuff like that. So he's valuable for us as well.
And John Fuller.
John Fuller, yeah, one of probably our strongest offensive linemen. Also with that group, they're all juniors, by the way. He's really come on in the last year or so. I don't think he was a starter as a 9th grader, played some as a JV kid. Now he's playing a lot both ways and really invaluable to us as an offensive lineman. He pulls out there almost every play. He's out there leading the charge, getting out there, chasing down those smaller kids. Very, very big piece of our offensive line that is very important to us.
Speaking of that, you said a lot of juniors in this unit. You know, how exciting is it to have that young potential here in this?
It's awesome to think that I've got a whole nother year with this group. Our top 7 guys are all juniors, and I'm very excited for the future with these guys. They all of them have a lot of potential and have a bright future in front of them, and it is very exciting to see how well we play now and to know how far they can come in just a whole nother year.
Going back to John Fuller, how about his defensive abilities? He had a pretty good game this past week too.
Yes, John is he's a high motor kid. He gets after it no matter what he's doing, both sides of the ball. He's, like I said, he's very strong. He's very fast. He's tough for anybody to block, our guys included. And he's really playing well on the defensive side of the ball. And man, I love watching him out there. When I get a chance to, I get done talking with my offensive line, I go out there and I want to watch him play. And he gets after it. I love watching him do it.
So he hasn't played much on this side of the ball this season, but what about Itai Grinman?
Itai, the only reason he's behind as far as being an offensive lineman is he hasn't been with us for 2 years. He decided to come over and help us some this year. He's a big, strong kid, got a big body on him, can help us in some ways. He's just behind those other guys because he hasn't been over there on the offensive side of the ball all of his 3 years.
So is there anybody that we're missing, anybody we may have left out?
I got 2 more guys that rotate in with that unit. Eli Mitchell rotates in with that group, and he's a big kid that I plug in at guard. He likes to pull out there, and same thing with him. He's a guy that I could tell, hey, I need you to go run through that wall right there. And he said, Coach, how fast do you want me to do it? You know, he's that kind of kid, a very coachable kid. Love having that type of kid. And next one's Devin Glapion. Same thing. He's a bigger kid. He rotates in at one of the other guards. He comes in and fills in and gives us some big minutes. Comes in on some different packages that we have. So both of those guys are very valuable to us.
And have there been some injuries down there on the line?
We've had little injuries here and there. Haven't had anything that's really kept us out for extended periods of time. We'll have, you know, an ankle rolled here or an elbow hurt there, something like that, but nothing really big. For the most part, they've been injury-free this year. Knock on wood. We'll keep going that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hopefully, keep up that trend going forward. So now we move on to this past week's game. You know, with lots of experience down that D-line, Watson Chapel has been given O-lines fits all year long, especially in conference play. They've only allowed 13 points per game. You know, how was it to finally be pitted up against them in a matchup?
Well, it's like I told my guys at the beginning of the week. I said, guys, this is what we prepare for all year. This is what should get you excited as an offensive lineman. I said, it's going to be a battle of the trenches. Best team in the trenches will more than likely win that game. I said, you got to understand, we're not just going to be rolling over these guys like we have in past weeks. I said, these guys are really good. They stick 5 really good guys up there. I said, I've got 5 really good guys as well, I believe, when I put them out there. I said, it's going to be a very tough matchup, and I was very excited for it. I think my guys were as well, and they were the best. I think they were the best defensive line that I've seen since I've been here overall as a unit. Very fast, very big, very athletic. They gave us some problems. We did some things to them that gave them some problems. It was a great battle to watch. Unfortunately, they did come out ahead, but you know, I wouldn't pick any other offensive line to go up against them than my guys.
That Chapel line was very battle tested. It has a lot of experience down there. Do you think that played into it a lot too?
It did. They did a lot of things to put us in some bad positions that other teams they don't have the ability to do because they physically don't have the kids. And Chapel does have the kids, and they put us into some bad situations. Man, I got to take my hat off to them. They're a really good defense, and I respect them. And hate that we weren't able to come out as the victor that last Friday.
How would you say as a whole this Chapel team matches up with the Chapel teams Lakeside's faced over the last few years?
You know, this Chapel team, I think they're a better group because they were able to not beat themselves. You know, the Chapel teams in the past, they'll turn the ball over, they'll put themselves in bad situations, they'll do things offensively to hurt themselves and give us some opportunities. The Chapel team this year, they didn't put themselves in any bad situations. They stayed in front of the chains. They didn't get behind the chains. They tried to stay out of getting penalties, and they did a good job of that. And then they just kept it simple, you know. They let their athletes be athletes, and they didn't do anything to really hurt themselves. So I think that's the biggest thing with a group like Watson Chapel is just let your football players be football players.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but this past week, Dupree passed Colt Housley for the most yards in a single season over the past 10 years. And he also tied Mo Bradford for the most touchdowns in a season in that same span of time. You know, with your O-line providing a lot of support for Dupree all season long, you know, is this a milestone that your unit will be celebrating too?
I wasn't aware of that. That's awesome that we've got to there as a team. I'm very fortunate to have a group that can help lead that. We think Dupree ought to go buy all the offensive linemen some dinner, you know what I mean? Opening up them holes. But man, that's awesome. I couldn't be more proud of Dupree and more proud of my linemen to be able to do that and get a little, hopefully they'll get a little recognition along the way for helping do that.
Well, that O-line's definitely been a key to his success all year long. And speaking of that, you know, heading into this season, Dupree showed clear intent to reach that level of play he had last year and even pass it up. And thanks to help from your unit, he was able to do that this season, passing the 1,500-yard mark, and now he's on his way to 2,000 yards. You know, how exciting is it to know that your O-line is playing such a big part in such a special season with their high level of play, and it's allowing other players to achieve their offensive goals for the year?
It's awesome. I'm sure if you asked each one of those offensive linemen what they expected, they would just tell you, you know, that's just a normal day of work for us, you know, that we expect to be able to open up holes for Dupree or Mike James or any of the running backs, you know, to get a bunch of yardage. So very happy for that, very fortunate. I feel very blessed to coach a group that is able to do that. But, you know, everybody would probably tell you that's just our expectations.
All right, so moving on, like Coach Rock last week, a lot of future Rams are looking up to you as well. You know, what would you tell them has been the most important lesson you've learned from the game of football?
You know, I think the most important thing that I've learned as a player, and not always doing it as a player and then turning into a coach, is just to be a coachable student athlete. And that doesn't just mean on the football field or the basketball court or doing athletics, but that means being coachable in the classroom, you know, being coachable or teachable to your parents, you know, doing things that won't hurt your team, just being an overall great, kind of like leaving the football program better than you found it. You know what I mean? Leaving the classroom better than you found it. Doing things that'll really help you and help benefit the other people around you, and just being a coachable student athlete in all forms of life and anything that you're doing. And be very coachable.
That's some great advice.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up the interview portion of this segment. But before you go, we have our traditional Ball of Fame. Anytime we have a guest in the studio,
all right,
they sign the ball. So would you like to sign the ball?
I'd love to sign the ball.
All right.
Anywhere matter?
Anywhere.
I get to put my old football number on it too?
Sure. All right, well, thank you, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you very much.
Again, Lakeside on the road this week at Hot Springs. Go out and support your Rams. And next week is the first round of the playoffs. Lakeside will be at home, and you can catch that game right here on Lakeside TV. For now, this is Chase Hartzell signing off. Have a great week, and go Rams.
He's going to take the snap. He's going to try to take it up the middle here, and it's off to the races. Touchdown, Lakeside.
Before you can find your potential, you first have to find your path. At National Park College, our mission is to help you do both, with a university experience that's close to home. With career-focused education, help with job placement and a variety of programs to choose from, and a cost that's less than half of four-year universities, National Park College can put you on the path to a better education. Visit np.edu today and find your path.